Hey guys, got the new line of subs that we've been working on here for a little bit. We've still got some more testing to do, but we're introducing a more entry-level line. Price should be under $200. That may be a shipped price. We'll kind of look into final costs on a lot of things, but it'll be available in a 12-inch, and we also have a 15-inch. Probably will not do a 10, maybe 18, possibly, but not real likely. These are rated, more than likely we're going to end up bringing these 750 RMS. Like I said, it is an entry-level sub. It's not some, massive thing. But we do have bolted down spiders. Heavy duty leads. Right now these terminals will support 12 gauge wire. There isn't really a need to go above that 10 or 8 gauge because again they don't take an enormous amount of power. There's a copper coil in there. So it's a 2.5 inch copper coil. We are using a 12-spoke basket on these. We may change the basket. There's another one that I've got in mind. The 12 is tooled, but the 15 is not tooled yet. So it depends when we go in production if we'll use this other basket. But for the prototypes right now, it's the 12-spoke. Pending more testing, currently the only other thing we might change is this surround. Might go to one a little bit different. It'll still be stitched like this one is, but we may change this around just a little bit. I'm going to try to get this 12 tested in a car this weekend and try to get some SPL numbers and see what we come up with. But there's the motor backplate. It's a pretty beefy sub. So we're looking at around the $200, under $200 price point. This should be a very good performer, especially in that price point. We should also have a magnet boot. So this will have the EMF logo like the band hammer line does. But we have to tool that. There's no point in tooling that on the prototypes yet. So when we go in production, that should be tooled. So it'll look very, very similar to this. The strong we're looking at going to will be a little bit darker color than this. So we'll have the magnet boot. But this should be a pretty good performer. And after we get some testing done and finalize the design, we will do a pre-order. And the pre-order will be a very, very enticing price. So we want to try to get as many of these pre-ordered so we don't run into like we did with band hammers, where we had a ton of pre-orders, but then we also had a whole ton of people buy them right when they came in stock. So that cleaned us out a lot. For the RMS on these will be 750 watts, is what we're guessing right now. It's going to be pending some testing. It might go a little bit higher than that, but we're thinking 750, maybe 800. I don't think we're going to rate it for 1,000. I think 750 is going to be good for this suspension. How many spiders? It is a 2 stiff spider pack. The number of spiders isn't really an indication of stiffness or performance. The overall stiffness is, but these currently have 2 stiff spiders on them. I do have about 30 minutes of playtime on this 12, and it's still relatively stiff. FS on the 12 after full break-in is I think is still 34 hertz. So it's not going to be like the band hammer where it's made for really, really solid lows. It'll still play low, but but it's not going to be, you know, low-end beast. It's going to be better suited for most music across the board. But you could also use these for SPL. So we're going to check that this weekend, hopefully. You know, see what kind of numbers we get. But these should do decent for SPL for budget, or if you just want to do a whole bunch of subs, these should work pretty well. Fourth order, yes, they probably will work in a fourth order. Kind of depends on your frequency range, but it should work relatively well. Not optimal for sealed boxes, but fourth they should work okay. For those asking about the price that came in late, we're looking at under $200. The pre-order price will be lower than that. I don't know what that will be yet, but normal price will be under $200 on the 15. The 12 will be less than that. And these should be available in a dual 2 and dual 4. I don't see any reason to do anything other than that, especially with the power rating that it is. Dual halves and dual ones are pretty much reserved for the much higher power ratings on those. Hook it up. I can hook it up. It will take me a minute to get all the wires loose from the test bench. I did show a video of one before. Let me do this. You might have to stare at the ceiling while I get this connected. I don't know if I can do it one-handed. I'll see what I can manage. So you want the 12 or the 15 hooked up? Somebody shoot me an answer. Can't do both at the same time. All right. Got a bunch on the 15. So, this is what we normally use on test bench. And actually, these might... Let me just reconnect. I think these banana plugs actually will fit right in there. So, stand by. See if I can give you a... There. Stare at that for a while. Alright, so I guess that was interrupted as a result of my phone was too close to the motor. So it sensed magnetism and shuts my display off on my phone. Alright, get 15. Alright, I'm going to set the phone kind of funny here. Alright, so we've got the 15 connected here. Alright, I'm going to have to put some foam down here on the table. See, it's got some grunt to it. The amp that I have on the bench right now is a 1500 that's connected here. Actual power, I don't know what it'll be. I just go up to full throw. Probably after next week, we will have one of our America 12Ks on the bench. So we will have no limit to power of what we're trying to do here. Alright, that is right at about full throw. I'm having to hold on to it so it doesn't bounce. I might put something on the dust cap so you can have a better idea of it moving here. And there's a pretty good view. Oop, that was my finger. My finger's getting hit by the cone. So, we've got quite a bit of throw here. X-Max. I have not tested for actual X-Max. It should be in the neighborhood of about 17 millimeters one way, I believe. Might be 20. I think he is moving pretty far. I think we're going to be about 17 millimeters. It would be comparable in other lines, like maybe to the SA line from Sundown in throw. I think in Sound Cube that might be like an SD 2.5 or SD 3. I'm not super familiar with their line. But for under $200, that's quite a bit of throw. 2.5-inch copper coil. Let's see if I can set this another way to where I don't have to hold it so much. It's not going to balance itself, so I have to hold it while it plays, which is kind of inconvenient. But you get the idea of how much that thing will move. It's pretty good. Like I said, our banana plugs fit right in the terminals. So it's pretty large. You might be able to get 10 gauge in that, but I know 12 gauge you're definitely safe to get in there. Power Series Rockford. I have no idea about any of the recent Power Series from Rockford stuff. I've kind of looked at some of it here and there, but I haven't really looked at it. 18s in this line, probably not. We'll kind of judge by request. We've had a lot of requests for band hammers in 18s, and those are more likely to do it. I know Sundown did an 18 in the SA, and a lot of people asked for it, and then a lot of people didn't buy it, so they didn't make more of them. I'm trying to clean off the lens here, see if that's why it's fuzzy. Nope, apparently it just doesn't want to focus. But, yeah, that, and then the 12 back again. So these, I'm hoping we will have, let's see if I can do something with the focus here. It's not looking so great. Apparently you can do filters. That's ridiculous. Seriously. Okay, apparently we're just going to be out of focus. Is it compatible with the Earthquake DB-XI12? I don't know what you mean by compatible. I think you maybe meant comparable. I am not familiar with the Earthquake line at all. So I would have to look that one up. Andrew, this is our EMF brand. It is a new model that we will be coming out with. It'll be the Lowballer. We have mentioned it before. It is probably going to be 750 RMS, pending some testing. Max power means nothing, so we're not going to put a max power rating on it. Kind of like the Ermagerd V2 has 1.21 gigawatts. We won't put a max rating. Max rating means nothing. Adam, yes, that is dual 1-inch slugs. So you've got gap venting and pole venting. Heavy duty leads. Bolted down spiders. Yes, there will be a boot. I mentioned that earlier. I think you were late to the party. We'll do a boot similar to the band hammer with the EMF logo on it. Gabe, the max power means nothing because that is a split-second instantaneous power. It's not any sustainable power. It's just like an amp that has a peak power rating. It really means nothing. True max power could be like a burp. Like the YOLO line is a 3-inch coil. We've put 30,000 watts on it as a maximum power without failure. But that doesn't mean that we should give it a 30,000 watt power rating, because that's not going to be the case for everybody. That's going to be a mechanical limitation for some before others and that kind of thing. Joseph, we will be opening pre-order on these, pending some testing. We might start that next week. I'm going to try to get some of these tested, at least the 12. I'm going to try to get tested this weekend. The 15, I might actually be sending off to somebody with a single 15 setup where they have a lot of test data. I might be sending it off to them just for comparison to other things, since they've got so much to compare to, whereas my car, I've got a single 12 with a lot to compare to. So the pre-order on those, it'll be a very enticing price. You will want to get on the pre-order, even though you have to wait a few months to get them. Spider count. There are 2 stiff spiders on these right now. May or may not be subject to change. But so this one has been played for about 30 minutes. It's really hard for me to push all the way down on it. They're still relatively stiff. FS on this one is 34 hertz after break-in. This one I'll have to check. I don't really have a whole lot of play on it. So that's also on the to-do list for today, is get some playtime on it and get it broken in really well and check specs on it, make sure it's where it needs to be. And somehow I managed to get this back in focus, so that's awesome. SDA. Oh, Sundown Audio. This one, in terms of comparison to the Sundown line, I guess the nearest thing would be like the SA line. Similar power rating, similar size, that kind of thing. And we're not trying to take away from the SA line. It is a great sub. But this one will be a little bit different, and we want to give an offering for those that want EMF, or maybe may prefer not Sundown, because I've had a lot of response saying that Sundown is too mainstream and they want something different. So with the EMF line here, you can have something different and still get a really good performance. And the price will be a little bit lower as well. I might turn this low volume. If I turn this up too much, it will start hopping. If you hear the chafing noise, that's the pole vents firing into the foam. It's got enough motor on it to make it hop. We can There's a very, very little mechanical noise. Most of what you're hearing here is this foam moving around, or if the cone hits my hand. Rich, the FS on the 12 was 34 hertz. So it's not super loose. But if you're using for an SPL application, where you're peaking in the 40s, they should work pretty well. Or even higher than that, they probably work pretty well too. They'll still play low all right. Should play down to 30 hertz. Okay. Sealed box is probably not going to be recommended. Let's see if I can get the 12 hooked up here. Alonzo, yes, this is a new line that we are working on. Oh, and the Armagerd V2s, by the way, are almost sold out. So we'll have to get more of those. They've been in stock for about 3 weeks. And we have 2 left as of right now. So if you're waiting on Armagerd V2s, don't, because they're going to be gone. All right. Let's get the 12 connected up over here. Doing this one-handed is very difficult. In terms of almost comparable to earthquakes, I'm not sure how the FS would make them really that comparable. Well, even between power rating and FS, I don't know that I would really call them comparable. Spider design, motor design, copper coil versus aluminum coil. There's a lot of other things that are very big factors in how they work out. Alright, so somehow we've managed to get this out of focus again. We'll see if we can get it back in focus. Not sure how I managed to do that last time. See if we can focus on the wood. There we go. Just doesn't know what's going on. I'll give this some power. I'll have to tilt it with my hand again. I'll back off one volume click. So now we've got the 12 hooked up. Same deal with bolted spiders. It's the same motor on the 12 and the 15. 2.5-inch copper coil. So between the 12 and the 15, the only difference is the physical size. So, there we have it. This is the Lowballer line. So we're going to do some more testing and verify some results, but we are aiming for a 750 RMS rating. You might be able to put more on it and be fine, but that's what we're looking at. This surround will probably change slightly. Spiders and everything should stay the same. Coil should stay the same. That coil has been used in some other things, and we know that it is solid. And the motor's pretty strong too. I don't remember the specs, that I had to write off, but it was pretty strong. So I suspect this one will be a good performer in an SPL application, which we should find out this weekend. Reminding you of the Obsidian and stereo integrity. I don't think stereo integrity has ever had a model like this. There was the BM Mark II, I believe. The BM Mark II may have looked a little bit similar. Yeah, I can see where you might say with the Obsidian, the motor had a similar look. Spiders, that kind of thing. If you're wondering why the video it's because I received a phone call, making the phone vibrate. How easy is it to recone them? Well, how easy it is kind of subjective to how many you've done before. It's easy to me, but so, I mean, from that aspect, it's very hard to say. I mean, they really aren't that much different than any other sub in terms of assembly. We hope that you won't have to recon them with it. That some people will see 50 RMS and then put 2,000 on it. For what reason, I don't know.